listening to Diminishing Returns, the podcast about sequels, prequels, spin-offs, and reboots. I'm Chris Scott, and across from me, he's the man with amazing pecs. It's Mr. Alan Johnson.
How do, pod people? The French novelist, poet and playwright Jules Verne is often cited as one of the founders of the science fiction genre. However, Verne himself would disagree. He instead described his work of being that of science possible, or the soon-to-be fact. However, in the 100+ years since his death in 1905, many of the postulations in Verne's work we now know to be untrue. But even with this shift from science fiction to merely the fantastical has not damaged the popularity of Verne, who is the second most translated author of all time since 1979, behind Agatha Christie and ahead of William Shakespeare. Journey to the Centre of the Earth was originally published in 1864, the third novel in the Voyage Extraordinaire series. The book, which has had over 20 notable adaptations from stage, screen, radio and inspiring cartoons, comic books, board and video games, theme park rides and 2 Rick Wakeman concept albums. 2008's Journey to the Centre of the Earth updates its loose take on the novel to modern day, where volcanologist Brendan Fraser is trying to restore his missing brother's reputation by proving the existence of volcanic tubes leading deep into the Earth's core. While looking after his nephew Sean, played by Josh Hutcherson, unusual seismic activity sets the two off on a journey to Iceland and an unusual adventure, as they use the novel to decode secret messages and solve puzzles along their perilous course. The movie shares so little with the source material that the book itself actually becomes a plot device within the film, which is essentially an excuse to have the cast move from one 3D set piece to another. Journey 3D was a sizable hit, which allowed producers to move on with a follow-up, in 2012's Journey to the Mysterious Island, which again would be based very loosely on a Verne novel, The Mysterious Island from 1874, and once again place the book at the centre of proceedings as our heroes search for a lost island and grandparent. Only Hutcherson would return from the original film, and the similar role of the adult guardian would be played this time by The Rock as Sean's stepfather. But did replacing Fraser with The Rock revitalise this unlikely franchise? And what does self-described franchise Viagra Dwayne The Rock Johnson bring to a project?
First of all, I want to talk about the title of the sequel.
Okay.
Journey to the Mysterious Island, yeah?
Yeah.
That's not T.O., that's the number 2 they've done there.
Yep.
To let you know that it's a sequel, which I think is making a rod for their back, because they obviously wanted to make a third film.
Oh yeah, heavily implied at the end of the second one, I thought.
But there's no 3 pun that they can use. So I'm not entirely sure how they were going to work that one out. So Al, thanks for choosing these 2 fucking children's films that I had to fucking sit and watch this week. That was great. Thanks for that, man.
It's my pleasure.
Good man. The first film. So this is like one of the first kind of 3D films.
It came out originally, all the press was about it being called Journey to the Centre of the Earth 3D, and it was pitched as the first live action 3D adventure film. But when the studio came to actually roll out this into cinemas, they found out that not enough cinemas at that time were equipped to actually project in the 3D, so they had to wind back that aspect of the actual publicity campaign about the film. Now I don't know what this film made you think of as you were watching it, but straight away with all the
cold embrace of death, Alan, it made me think, what am I doing with my life? It made me look over the last fucking 38 years of my life and think, how many terrible life choices did it end up that I'm watching this so I could come and sit here in a basement talking about this. It made me think about getting a stool and a fucking rope. What were you thinking?
No, it made me think similarly, I suppose, of Friday the 13th.
Of me killing myself. I really wish Chris would kill himself. Boy, that'd be good. I fucking hate that guy.
It made me think of Friday the 13th 3D. All of the sticking sharp objects at the screen and throwing things towards the camera.
Fucking at any point, anything that can protrude is getting fucking flung directly at the camera.
Really? Is that how far we've come in like 30 years of 3D film technology? We've just decided to stick with the same gags, but now you need to wear like slightly better glasses.
I mean, to be fair, again, as I mentioned, it's a child's film. So I'm kind of more forgiving of that, because I'm sure if you took like a 6-year-old to that, they'd be like, whoa!
Duck every time.
I mean, I still duck at some of the 3D stuff. I mean, the first film, I had a look at the budget for it, which seemed quite reasonable. So I'm assuming most of it was spent on the 3D fucking stuff.
Yeah.
Because it certainly wasn't spent on the actual computer-generated effects, which look like they've come from a 1995 computer game cutscene.
Yeah.
It's so cheap.
And there's a cast of maybe 6 people? Very few locations. There's a little bit of like exterior stuff, but then the bulk of the movie, the actual centre of the earth stuff, is all computer generated in what I can only imagine was just a massive green screen set.
Yeah, absolutely.
60 million.
Just expensive as fuck to film in 3D and to do all the 3D processing and
It
stuff.
must be, yeah.
They haven't spent that money on the cast. Even the small amount of cast they do have, I can't imagine we're fucking looking for $20 million.
Seth Meyers as a professor.
Right? And Brendan Fraser, as we've discussed in our Mummy episode, I think we've all got a lot of time for the fella.
I think he's a fairly solid leading man. You know, after that massive gap between The Mummy Returns and The Mummy, The Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, that franchise and he as a star was still enough of a draw that movie made over $100 million at the box office.
Yeah. In this film, despite not having much to do, because it is a kid's film.
Yeah.
And so it's like really broad and dumb. You know, it's not Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, is what I'm saying, right? I know that's not a surprise to anyone, probably. I can't imagine anyone was getting those two films mixed up, right? Even in this big dumb film where he's having to just do dumb shit, there's a bit where he's talking to the wee guy, his nephew, and he's telling him about how basically his dad is dead, and he's sort of telling him about his dad. And I was like, man, this is really well acted. He's doing it in a really believable way. He's not overacting. He's not. A lot of people would have oversold it when it made it too schmaltzy. Fucking Brendan Fraser's just pulling out 3 minutes of actually really nice acting in the middle of this when there was no need for it. He didn't have to do this, you know. I think one of the other things that I like about Brendan Fraser is not only is he obviously capable of being a good actor, but he's also, despite being a big handsome boy, he's also got a big goofy kind of face, rubbery smile, kind of, you know, and so he's also really likable.
Yeah, I think
and like a lot of good looking people aren't necessarily warm or likable on the screen.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know, like a Tom Hiddleston or, you know, me on the screen, and you'll say that they're quite cold in their amazing attractiveness. You know, Brendan Fraser just looks like a big likable lunk, and I must admit, as I was watching this, I was just kind of going, give him more movies that aren't this piece of shit that I have to watch right now. Get him in stuff.
He, of course, has had issues. I don't want to bring it down so quickly in proceedings, but he says he was a victim of sexual abuse within the Hollywood system.
Oh, fuck, really?
Yeah, and when he made the allegations, he said that's where his career really started to crumble.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He made those allegations in 2003, and then shortly after that, he divorced from his wife, and he said the combination of his divorce and the incident really, it led to depression, health issues. He actually has a lot of injuries carried over from the stunt work he does in his films. You know, he's so committed that he's had a knee replacement and vocal cord surgery. I mean, the
Cunt's put his knee and his fucking voice in the line for you people. Right, that's it. We're starting a campaign.
Right.
Not to end the sexual abuse, which would probably be a better campaign, but just to get Brendan Fraser work. Because I think that other one, too much hard work for us.
Okay.
I might be a little bigger. Let's leave that to somebody who knows what they're doing, not two blundering Egypts from Scotland. But we'll take the easier one.
we'll get behind Fraser.
Let's get Brendan Fraser more work. I like that guy.
His character here sits somewhere between the sort of dashing Rick O'Connell from the Mummy movies and at the other end of the scale, George and George of the Jungle. He sort of sits somewhere neatly in between those two characters that he's played in this movie, because he's not the blundering yet capable Indiana Jones style guy, but he does sort of like swing on vines and face plant in the trees a little bit.
Yeah, he is quite kind of clumsy in places.
And I wondered, is that because he's a professor that he's maybe trying to harness that nutty professor style, like he's good in the lab, but maybe field work isn't quite his expertise?
Yeah, I would say it's probably just kind of lazy writing. That's what I'm going to say it is.
Okay.
What I would say about this first film is that obviously I am not his target audience, right?
No.
I am aware of this. You know what? Maybe if you're a kid, like there's loads of 3D effects and it zips along once it gets to about the halfway point. I thought it took quite a bit of time to maybe get going.
Yeah.
But, once they started trying to actually have to escape from the centre of the earth, I was like, you know what? There's like loads of kind of stuff that young kids would go like, oh, that was quite cool. But it's just not for me. It's like if we were to talk about, I don't know, like a gay porn series, right? It might be a really well-made gay porn series.
Right.
But as a heterosexual man, I can appreciate that is like a massive big black cock that's just shooting out an amazing parabolic arc of cum. Like, I can appreciate that.
On
but
an
it's not for
level.
me. Yeah, but it's not for me. And what I'm saying is that Journey to the Centre of the Earth
equates to
is like gay porn for me. I mean, if it works for you, good on you. Except don't be jerking off to Journey to the Centre of the Earth, because then you need to be on a register.
It's
That's the only difference. No jerking off to one of those guys. Unless you're freeze framing it on Brendan Fraser's face. Because he's quite a good looking boy. I'll give you that.
Yeah, when I got to the end of this and started doing the research on it, it turns out there was actually a 15-minute version of the whole movie, which covers all the same ground.
Ha!
It was used in a sort of 4DX theme park ride.
Right, okay.
Where you would go into the cinema and when there was water on the screen, they'd scoot water at you.
Okay.
There would be strobe lighting and the chair would rumble, all that sort of thing. But I did think, man, they managed to tell the story in 15 minutes.
Yeah. This is a film that obviously works really well as a 15-minute almost theme park ride.
Yeah.
But not as an actual film. But again, I can see, it'll have made a lot of money because people have had to pay for the 3D tickets.
Yeah.
And so, good luck, Brendan Fraser. I wish he'd come back for the sequel just because I want him to get more work.
Well, it was the director, Eric Brevig, actually was going on to work on Yogi Bear 3D. And because he was tied up doing that, and it was loyalty to the director that Brendan Fraser said, actually, I'm out. The other lead in the cast, Anita Briem, she was schedule locked and was unable to do the sequel, but Brendan Fraser, it was loyalty to the director.
If that's true, fair play to the Fraser. And, it would have been nice to see that lassie back purely because, as mentioned, I am a heterosexual male.
Yeah, just before we move on. So while they're in the centre of the earth, they find masses of precious stones, diamonds and rubies, etc. And at the end of the film, where they meet a wonderful Italian stereotype.
Oh, you've just crashed into my vineyard.
Obviously, they used some of the diamonds they've found on their journey to pay for his vineyard damage, and then also when they get back...
It's okay, now I'm a richer. Hey!
And they get back home to America and they buy a house and a school of volcanology.
Yep.
But it reminded me of the F. Scott Fitzgerald short story, Diamond as Big as the Ritz. Do you know that?
No, I don't. Does this also have dinosaurs?
It doesn't have dinosaurs, but it does have some murder, which is good. A neat story. I wouldn't spoil it here, but that's what it made me think of when they were down and finding all the jewels. But what I like at the centre of this movie, it's the importance of reading is what saves the day. Like, they only survive and get out alive because they've read the book and knowledge has given them the power to get through the story. I personally enjoy any movie that tells you that books are good and books will save the day, and I think that's a really great message.
Boring! Books are boring. This film is boring. That's fucking layman for nerds.
So, like you say, this is enough of a hit to greenlight a sequel. It's a non-threatening adventure film that's not particularly dangerous. So, like you say, it's perfect
Unlike
to take
My
kids
Beauty
to.
on screen, it's non-threatening. Like Brendan Fraser's face.
So 2012 it comes round. As we've said, Brendan Fraser doesn't come back. The mother from the first film doesn't come back.
But yeah, this is what I was going to say, right? So we've got mummy movie star Brendan Fraser and this like smoking hot Icelandic chick in the first film. Let's not bring them back. Let's bring back the wee guy, right? The wee guy, he's the one that's carrying this fucking picture, right? But, Brendan Fraser had to deal with this fucking like obviously done on the cheap kind of thing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then immediately in the second film it's like, oh yeah, we've spent a bit more money on this. Here's a Michael Caine fucking voiceover. You're like, Michael Caine's gonna be in this fucking film. Like, poor Brendan Fraser. And suddenly it's like, oh, we've upgraded. Michael Caine's in. Oh, we've also got The Rock. You're like, holy shit, The Rock's the wee guy's stepdad now. Yeah. That's mental. Wee guy keeps trying to fucking break into a satellite facility, but the cops know The Rock, so the cops make sure charges don't get pressed, and The Rock brings him home to his mum. And they've upgraded his mum. His mum's now fucking Charlotte from Sex and the City.
Kirsten Davis, yeah.
It was like, at every point think they're just like, let's just fucking fuck a bit more money into this now. Like, holy shit, guys. Poor Brendan Fraser was stuck in a green screen. Holy moly. But, you know, that works. Fair play. I mean, I like Michael Caine. I like the first 2 seasons of Sex and the City.
Do you know that some conspiracy theorists actually, they think that there's a global cabal who change information that we have as a human race and then basically perform a sort of cultural brainwashing? Some of those people believe that it was called Sex in the City originally, but it's now they've brainwashed out of people and everybody is now just in this conspiracy theory where it's called Sex and the City.
Oh my God. That is fun. You know what? That's the sort of shit that I really love, but it's like,
I can't just admit I'm wrong.
But also, also I mean that they think that the Illuminati are sitting there going, right, first thing we need to arrange to fuck a couple of planes into the Twin Towers. Right, okay, we got that. We also need to start a war in Afghanistan and Iraq so that we can get control of the world's oil. Right, okay. Anything else in the agenda? Excuse me, I'd like to change the name of Sex in the City to Sex and the City. Right, okay, we need fucking 20 of our best men on this. You know, fucking, to what fucking end? I like that. That's like my favourite conspiracy. As I think I've mentioned on the show before, that's up there with did the Beatles ever exist? You're listening to episode 58 of Diminishing Returns. This is our episode on Journey to the Centre of the Earth and Journey to the Mysterious Island. You can get in contact with us via email at diminishingpod@gmail.com, on Twitter @diminishingpod, on Facebook we're Diminishing Returns Podcast, on Instagram Diminishing Pod, our blog diminishingpod.wordpress.com, and on YouTube search for Diminishing Returns. We have some episodes and some other videos up there. Guys, we are an independent podcast. The important thing is that you love us. Because of that, your word means more to people than shitty advertising. If you enjoy this nonsense, please tell your friends, point them to the exact podcast, put it onto their phones for them, their tablet, their computer, whatever you need to do. And while you're all there, you might as well rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast. It helps new listeners find us. We really appreciate listening and we want to keep growing the show, so we need your help to do that. We will now return to me having to talk about these 2 fucking films. Fuck you, Alan. And here's the thing. So the start of the first film, right, the wee guy is getting dropped off at his uncle's, which is Brendan Fraser.
Yes.
Right? While his mum goes and does some shit, and her mum's like not the chick from Sex and the City yet. This is some other actress. And then they're moving to Canada.
Yes.
This film, which is like 4 years later, they're now in Akron, Ohio.
Is it not Dayton?
Okay, or Dayton, Ohio. All right.
Let's debate Ohio towns.
Oh, fucking excuse me, Alan. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get those two? Well, you're right then. My point is invalid. All right. I couldn't remember if it was where Guided by Voices are from or where Devo were from, okay? And it was Guided by Voices evidently in Dayton. Okay, well done, Alan. So, in the 4 years, she's moved to Canada.
Yep.
And now she's moved to Ohio. Now, The Rock's character has some sort of construction business in the area, and he's so well known that he's pals with all the cops.
Yep.
I don't think you can build up a huge construction business and be pals with all the cops in those 4 years. So in the space of 4 years, his moz went up to Canada, pumped some Canadian for a couple of years, met The Rock, and been like,
you know it.
Listen, moose fucker. So I enjoy freebie program Due South and the music of the Tragically Hip as much as anyone. But look at this guy. Look at him fucking, just look at him. He's got muscles on muscles. So I'm away to fucking live in Ohio, even though Ohio's a fucking shithole probably. And that's what's happened. And then she turned into the chick from Sex and the City.
Yeah.
So basically the second film kind of lets you in the shtick of these films very quickly with the voiceover. There's people who are really into Jules Verne, Vernians, and they believe that these books are not just fiction, but they lead you to real life places. And the wee guy from the first film gets this coded Jules Verne message, and he's obviously like, this is from my granddad, who's really into Jules Verne, who I don't think was mentioned in the first film.
No mention of the grandfather in the first film.
But also, at no point do they even pay lip service to him contacting his uncle, who he went on a giant life-changing adventure with less than 4 years ago. Just go, I would normally call Uncle Brendan Fraser.
But he's off on another adventure, going around the world in less than 100 days.
Yeah. To me, I just wanted them to have like a little bit of lip service to it.
Just mention it.
And then they could have been like, I wish he was here rather than you, The Rock. And then there you go, it sets up that nice thing.
Yeah.
But instead, they were just like, they don't exist. They don't even get mentioned.
And it's really weird because they retrofit it so that Michael Caine suddenly starts saying how the Anderson family are all eccentric adventurers that all believe in Verne and
at no point asked after his other son, what about your uncle?
Yeah, like, where's your dad that was dead?
No. Okay.
And the fact fact that the kid had never even heard of Jules Verne prior to meeting Uncle Brendan in the first film, like suddenly now he's a diehard Vernian. A series of really odd steps to take. And also, at the end of the first film, he'd smuggled like a prehistoric extinct bird back from the centre of the earth.
Yeah, that's obviously dead after a week.
Yeah, it's been pecked to death by sparrows because of its bright plumage.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, they don't make any mention of his uncle, Hannah, the guide from the first film. His mum is now completely different. It's really odd. And
Which one of the Sex and the City girls would you be?
I
think you'd be the ginger one.
Just because I was trying to actually really invest, and I was like, well, I'm not sexually liberated like Samantha.
I think you're going to figure it out. So talk this through. You're going to end up with the ginger one.
Really? No, I think I'm more of a Charlotte.
You've got a touch of the Charlotte.
I'm a bit more of a Priss. I'm a bit more of a Priss.
That's true. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Yourself? I mean, are you a Carrie? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, in the sense that I'm always sort of doing little linking sentences in my head where it's like
just everything's a segue.
You know what it's so like if I'm sitting there and I don't know, you are going down on your missus, right? I would be saying something like, while I was going downtown to get pizza, Alan was going downtown on his wife, and then in my head it would then cut to you. I don't know why I'm thinking about that. Yeah, took a turn. Tell Julia I was asking after her. And while Chris was asking after her, you see, you can just make anything like a Sex and the City segue.
Yeah,
it's fucking brilliant. Yeah, that's right. I have a surprising knowledge of Sex and the City.
Yeah, so this second film, I think it dramatically shakes things up from the first film. Like you say, we have a Michael Caine voiceover just to sort of get us up to speed now with this Verne and stuff.
And there's a mysterious granddad. I wonder who's going to play him.
So right from the off, this second film really feels differently. You know, the motorcycle thing, it's actually quite visually exciting. And you're like, there's a wonder of where is this going? Where is it leading? It's leading, of course, to the statuesque form of the Rock.
Yeah.
And so Hutcherson's let go by the police. He's in his room and he starts to try and decode this message. And here's where the Rock comes in, because before he was a humble, really rich construction company owner, he was like a super cool Navy SEAL signalman.
So what I like about this is like just trying to connect with you, and I really want to just go, oh, a bit like my uncle who we never see anymore. Like, this kid doesn't give a fuck.
No, he's over it. He doesn't give a fuck about his prehistoric bird, his uncle, Hannah the guide, who, let's go back, there was a weird bit in that first film.
Oh, we're going to talk about I've got dibs.
They both called dibs on a human being.
I mean, brilliant. Journey to the centre of the earth, and also the 1950s. I've got dibs on her. I was genuinely thinking, wait, what the fuck's about to happen here? Because this is going to take a weird turn for a kids movie.
Especially when she sails up in a dinosaur skull at the end to save them both, she just says, who called dibs?
Yeah, which makes me think, like, would she have fucked that wee teenage boy? Would she have been like, I mean, listen, in my culture, if you call dibs, even if you're a pubescent boy, I will let you fuck me. Did you call dibs? Oh, well, God, I don't even want to do this, but Jesus, I guess you're just going to have to. You called dibs.
Exactly. The law of dibs hold up in any court in the land.
Yeah, we'll take us to the Supreme Court, you know, the government versus dibs.
So the Rock and Sean have a moment where they actually connect, and that with the Navy background of the Rock, he's used to code breaking, so he actually translates a little Morse code thing, and that decodes the message from that never before mentioned grandfather. But also then they compile 3 different maps from 3 different old-timey books to get one map. That was a nice little move to actually take 3 books. And so if you're a Vernian, it's not just enough to know the books of Jules Verne, like you actually had to read Stevenson and Swift to get the full picture. And so that discovery, Sean is all about going to find Grandpa on this mysterious island that nobody ever knew about, but the Rock is like, oh, this is my opportunity for this kid to accept me as a stepfather. And they go off to this Pacific island.
Yeah, and so they find a guy who's going to take him in his helicopter, who's played by a well-known character actor, Luiz Guzman. You know, you've seen him in a million things.
Yeah.
He's always great. Till I saw this film, at which point I would say he's almost always great.
But that's the thing, like in the sort of shaking up of the cast, I think where this film has a lot more to offer than the first film is that having just a larger cast and each person sort of like having a different role. Luiz Guzman's there to sort of provide some kind of comic relief.
Yeah.
And the interplay between him and Vanessa Hudgens his daughter. You know, while there might not have been huge amounts of laughs throughout the film, the relationship between Luiz Guzman and his daughter in the film was actually something that I quite liked in the movie, especially how it reflects The Rock's difficulties trying to connect with Sean.
Yeah, these two characters do love each other. Though, you know, weirdly, Luiz Guzman is super okay with this kid that he's just met trying to fuck his daughter.
Yeah, that...
Like, he's really just like, do you like each other? That's cool. This wee guy you've just met.
Yeah,
You've no idea. Like, he could be like a little creepy incel dude. Mm-hmm. A wee outright fucking troll. You don't know anything about him.
Yeah, it's really odd.
The point is like, Guzman's just like, some guy wants to fuck my daughter. That sounds good. You're like, hey, wait a minute. Come on, man. So, listen, Vanessa Hudgens.
Yes.
I'm aware that she's a famous lady.
Yes.
Who has she been in that's not this?
She kind of came through the Disney machine. She was in the High School Musical films.
Okay, there we go.
But then she was in a Zack Snyder movie, that really weird wank fantasy one.
You're going to need to narrow it down. It's a Zack Snyder film. Oh, the Zack Snyder wank fantasy. All of them are that.
What's the one about the sort of like samurai girls that are fighting in a steampunk world?
Okay. Yeah, I know what you mean. Which I've actually,
in it?
some people say is actually quite good, but I've never seen it.
Right.
So I don't know.
Still can't think of the name of it.
Fucking me neither. But I know the one you mean.
Yeah,
Right. But she was in the High School Musical. That's why she's famous.
That's why.
Because I'm of the age now where I know celebrities' names from like Twitter. People will be like, this person. And I'm like, they are a famous person. But I don't know, are they famous for being a singer, an actress, a sexy? You know what I mean? Like, I don't fucking, I don't know anymore. You know, they play computer games on YouTube and that's why they're famous. And I'm like, all right, you're just trying to make fun of an old man now. That's not a real thing. So she was in High School Musical, which I remember being a huge thing for the Waynes about 7 years ago or something.
Yeah, launched Zac Efron and launched her.
Is that where he's from?
That's where he's from.
Okay. Sorry, it's fucking just somebody explaining pop culture to your granddad here on this fucking show today. Cool. So basically he's the helicopter pilot, him and his daughter like pilot the helicopter, and of course the helicopter crashes onto the mysterious island. So at this point they realise that this island has its own kind of ecosystem and stuff, and like the way things have developed. So like on this island, animals are different sizes than you'd expect. So big stuff here is small on the island, and small stuff here is huge on the island, right? Yeah. Which makes me think that if we were born on that island, we'd both have huge cocks. That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Gulliver's gigantic.
I do call my spermatozoa Lilliputians.
So basically, it's like the Lilliput. It's like the Lilliput effect. Obviously, that relates back to the Jonathan Swift novel that we've previously encountered in the movie. There is something weirdly endearing about the Rock picking up a tiny elephant.
Yeah.
The first of the big is small is big things that attack them is this lizard. The lizard, which to us in this world would be, quite small, is actually like a giant dinosaur in the mysterious island.
Yeah. So, they're running away from this big lizard, and the lizard gets hit by a bunch of traps. Traps set by Josh Hutcherson's granddad. That's right. Michael Caine's there, picking up a lovely paycheck. Good on him. He's having a great old time. Yeah, his granddad's Michael Caine. Of course it is. And they have a bit of chat between him and the Rock, and they kind of don't get on.
I quite like it that as soon as Michael Caine shows up, he basically sets about just undermining everything that the Rock is saying and trying to achieve.
You're a big man, but you're in shape. So basically, they then realise that the mysterious island is the island of Atlantis, and that it's going to be underwater within about 3 days.
Like a great adventure movie, everybody that's on the adventure in the team all has their moment to shine. And so The Rock, because of his background in construction, he identifies this phenomenon that's happening, and the island is about to sink. They're in real danger.
Basically, like Atlantis every 140 years gets submerged in water, but Michael Caine's got it wrong, and so it's actually happening in 3 days. And they have to escape this island. We then have a whole bunch of fun stuff, riding around on giant bees. There's a giant spider, the volcano filled with gold, just like so many crazy adventures. The Rock has a heart-to-heart with the stepson, and basically has an excuse to show off his little peck thing when his nipples move, which admittedly was quite funny.
He's like, here's how you seduce a lady. Rule 1, ignore your instincts. When it comes to the opposite sex, your instincts are always wrong. That's decent advice.
That's actually decent advice.
Rule 2, try and be sensitive. Listen, really listen. A woman wants you to really hear her and be on her wavelength. Also great advice. The third rule is apparently have the physique of the Rock.
I mean, to be fair, Alan, the third rule about the pecs is probably the most important one, because if you look like The Rock, you're getting your hole. He's right. He's not wrong. He's not like if you look like, I don't know, Philip Seymour Hoffman now. Tyson, you're not getting your hole. You look like The Rock, you're getting your hole. So yeah, he's fucking right. But then that was the one, but I quite liked with Luiz Guzman, where where The Rock's like, I want you to throw berries at my nipples. That's how they ping off. And Guzman's just like, yeah, I love this, because Guzman basically, I think, wants to fuck The Rock. Yeah. And you know what I like about it? Is that there is also like the odd bit where Guzman is obviously totally have a man crush on The Rock.
Yeah.
But there's just like a odd bit where The Rock is like, hey, enough. Like, he'll let that shit fucking slide for a little bit, but The Rock wants everyone to know that, it's like a fucking 1980s gay panic thing where he's like, no touching. Luiz Guzman is just like, this Rock guy's amazing.
Well, then they all fall in love with him, and he just gets a ukulele that's been carried around for no other reason in this moment where The Rock sings a song and
By the
everybody...
way, Rock has a nice voice.
Well, he's sung on a couple of movies before.
Fast and the Furious 5.
Yeah, of course, the famous one.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me.
Yeah, he's sung in a couple of movies.
Oh, okay. So they have to escape. So they're like, hold on, all this stuff in the books is real. Captain Nemo was here, which means the Nautilus was here, which is his submarine. So like, if we can get in that, we can escape. Yeah. Even though there's loads of water, because that's what submarines do. Now, Luiz Guzman has been sitting there, being like, I'm poor. I wish my daughter could go to college.
Here's a B plot for you.
Yeah. He's like, hold on a second. There's also a volcano filled with gold. And so he sneaks off in the middle of the night to try and get that gold, but they don't have time for that. His daughter and Michael Caine rush to get him. And Michael
Caine's a good age. I noticed there was a lot of body double work in this film. I would say that rushing is used loosely.
Yeah, it was very much, it was like, right, shit. She wakes up and she's like, my dad's going to get that gold so he can send me to college, but we don't have time for him to collect that gold because we're going to die. And they're like, right, we need to split up. So this bit, we're just walking down here. How's about we'll have Josh Hutcherson and me, the fittest man in the world, and then to do the thing we really need to rush, we'll have this young girl and this 70-year-old man. That's the way we should do it. And nobody's like, mate, you need to fucking go. The Rock doesn't give a fuck about Guzman, does he? He's fucking like, I know this guy loves me, but I couldn't give two shits. Me and the stepboy are getting the fuck out of here. We don't care if you people die.
Yeah, and crucially, the stepson has dislocated his ankle by falling off of a bee.
A giant bee.
While saving Vanessa Hudgens. So he can't walk very fast. Just you talking about the decision making in these movies, I would really like people to apply Occam's razor. We can do this thing or this other ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
Right, we're stuck on an island. The island's going to sink. Oh, well, the book says we can get to Captain Nemo's tomb. But apply Occam's razor. Maybe get on a giant bird or get on a giant bee and fly off the island. Let's not hunt for a maybe doesn't exist submarine that's been there for 70 or 100 years, but it doesn't work for this movie.
Hi, it's me, Chris, the co-host of the very podcast you're listening to. Well, is this another one of these adverts he's shoehorning into his own programme? Fuck yes it is. If you're going to the Edinburgh Fringe this year, that's 2018, me and my improv group, Improv Killed My Dog, and our friends bringing you a very special show. We are part of the PBH Free Fringe with our show Magnum PI. The PI stands for Police Improv. It's at Bannerman's, which is venue 357, from the 12th to the 16th of August. How would I describe the show? Well, how about I read you the blurb? Improv Killed My Dog plus Friends give you an improvised comedy inspired by your all-time favourite cop and detective shows. They've seen every crime programme ever made, and now they're taking time out from their regular Glasgow show to create their own. See them before the captain hauls them over the coals for breaking the rules and getting results. Boy, what an exciting live read. So I quite liked when they go and find Luiz Guzman, right? And he's trying to get this gold. What I noticed is that what he didn't do was bring a bag. He's just went himself. So like, you could take a bag, fill it with like loads of rocks of gold and be set up for several lifetimes.
It was literally falling out of the sky. Yeah, instead, he decides to try and dig up a huge
but
nugget.
Also, then he's going to have to carry that in his fucking hands because he's not brought a fucking bag. No. Right? So that's mental. But then they find him and she's like, oh, come on, Dad. Or Papa, because they're nothing if not ethnic in this film.
That's right.
This makes sure those filmmakers have been very culturally sensitive. She's like, Papa, come on, we need to go. And he's like, no, I need this so that it's our only chance chance for me to send you to college. And she goes, we'll have all the wealth we'll ever need as long as we're together. Really, Vanessa? Really? I've got a couple of things I want to tell you about that. You could say it doesn't matter as long as we're happy. But wealth? No. Huh. You're going to need something of value to sell. In fact, we've been thrown out of our house. Well, I love you. Well, that's great. I'm going to die of pneumonia. It doesn't matter, right? Even if we take that aside, you know the route I would have taken maybe with that conversation? The island's sinking faster than we expected. If we don't go now, we're all going to fucking die. Don't have this conversation about your fucking college fund. No, don't worry about it. It's because I love you. But what about... No. Cut to the chase. If we don't leave right now, we're all drowning, which, by the way, everyone says is the worst kind of death.
I couldn't imagine anything worse.
How do you know? Like, nobody's going to report back. Do you know what I mean?
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Scientifically sound.
Maybe drowning is like the feeling of 1,000 orgasms. Nobody knows. I'm not going to take a bet. I'm not going to gamble on it. I'm just saying, we don't know. So that annoyed me because it was just like, time's of the essence here. Not the time.
Let's get goal-orientated people. Yeah. We either live or die here. The wealth we take with us is immaterial at this point.
Yes.
So while they've gone off to find Guzman and the gold, The Rock and Sean have gone off to find the submarine. The submarine here has been, underwater for 140 years, and they need to charge the battery by getting a spear and throwing it at an electric eel.
I mean, makes sense, legit. What's your problem?
I was thinking more of a push start.
Yeah. No, well, if it's a battery, like you know when you take your batteries out your remote and you kind of roll them around a wee bit. Just give them a wee wipe.
Put them in the radiator for 10 minutes, it'll be fine.
So they get the submarine and they're like trying to pilot it out of the dangerous island bit. Yeah. They're like, hey, we've got a helicopter pilot here, let's use him. And
it's just like his helicopter, eh?
Oh, and that's what he says. He goes, oh, it's just like my helicopter. I love that in films.
Yeah.
Where like these highly specialised bits of machinery, people are just like, well, this is easy, straight away. And this ship from like, 140 years ago.
This bespoke submarine, the Nautilus,
is
just built by a mad genius.
It's just like this guy's 1980s helicopter. Because
it
looks like an old helicopter. But Guzman just gets it straight away.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm a submarine captain now.
Because they work exactly the same as helicopters. Yeah. So everything works out. They've escaped the mysterious island. Cuts to like 6 months later or whatever, right? Vanessa Hutchins is getting out of a nice car.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a second. She's on the mainland. She's, I'm going to guess, in fucking Dayton, Ohio, Alan. And then she gets a phone call from her dad, Luiz Guzman. And his helicopter's been destroyed, but it's fine because he's now giving people rides in the Nautilus, right? Which, frankly, I think that can't possibly have passed health and safety. On this island, on this specific island of Panau, their health and safety must be lax. Because that's a 140-year-old vehicle that's been sitting in the fucking open air for like 100 years. There's going to be rust. There's going to be like giant lizards attacking it. Right? And then Luiz Guzman has no money to fix this up.
None
As we've
whatsoever.
discussed, he's not a wealthy man. And yet this antique that's been through all this damage is safe to carry what looks like hundreds of passengers.
Pleasure cruisers, just people out for a giggle.
This ruined the whole film for me. Because I feel like if you follow that film for another 10 minutes, those people all die.
They're just locked in a coffin.
Yeah, that's it. They're just dead. And from what we've discussed, drowning is the worst kind of death. And then, of course, Vanessa Hudgens walks into Josh Hutcherson's house, and he's there with Sex and the City lady and The Rock, and it's his birthday, and they're having a wee birthday party. Oh, here's a letter. Open this letter on your birthday, and it's from his granddad, and it's like, oh, I've got something for you next time I see you. And he's like, oh, my granddad isn't going to be here.
The granddad that I saved from that sinking island. If I hadn't decoded the letter, he'd have fucking drowned.
He's a teenager with a smoking hot girlfriend.
Yeah.
I don't think he gives a fuck if his granddad's there in real life. It's just like, oh, I've got a letter from my granddad, cool. He's like, oh, a book token, amazing. You know what I mean? Like, fucking shut up. But he's like, oh, my granddad's not going to be here. And then like Michael Caine jumps in and he's all like, hey guys, it's me. I'm actually really here. I don't know why I bothered sending that letter. That makes no sense. And then he goes, I was thinking we could all go on an adventure. What does he hand over to the boy?
He gives him a copy of From the Earth to the Moon by Jules Verne.
Wow. There's definitely 100% going to be a sequel about this as long as the studio doesn't go, actually, nobody gives a fuck.
Nobody cares.
So it was going to be like, and then it was going to be like, oh, the whole family are going to go.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're obviously going, we're going to go and do this journey to the moon with the whole family. I mean, Sex and the City lady that's in this,
Kirsten Davis.
Her husband's already died in one of these adventures.
Yeah.
Her son has almost died twice on these adventures. He's grown up without a father.
We've no idea dear, what happened to your husband's brother?
Yeah, and she's just like, oh, what we're gonna do, eh? Boy, an adventure. She's a fucking sociopath, is what I'm saying. The one thing I wanted to mention about that film is that there's a post-credit sequence.
Yeah.
With the wee baby tiny elephants
Swimming about
in Atlantis, because obviously, I guess somebody at some point has went, hey, you know those cute animals that we saw earlier in the film? If this whole island is underwater, aren't all those animals going to be dead? Isn't that awful for the kids? And they're like, shit. And they've obviously put this wee thing and be like, don't worry, guys, right?
They're splashing
but as
about.
we established, and as was established in the film, big things are small things are big. Not that things are suddenly amphibious.
Yeah.
So if you're a child and you've watched that film, you feel better about that, they're lying to you.
Yeah.
This is the real conspiracy theory. Those elephants, those little cute baby adorable elephants are dead. They drowned. Their last moments were spent in fear, trying to grasp for air that would not come as the light went out of their little cute baby elephant eyes. Okay, kids? That's real life.
As we've discovered, dying the worst
Worst possible way.
I enjoyed this film more than the first one. It had better banter, a better cast. It benefited from actual locations. But obviously the reason we're speaking about it is because The Rock at the moment has Skyscraper in cinemas, and it's not doing particularly well for a rock vehicle. This guy's known to reinvigorate flagging franchises. He sees himself as a brand. The Rock is a brand that you buy to get into the movie, and he's come on board. He came in at Fast 5. He, of course, previously with Brendan Fraser, came into Mummy Returns as the Scorpion King.
Do you think they're just going to, if they do this again, they're going to hire somebody else from the Mummy? Do they just have like John Hannah?
Arnold Vosloo is
going to... Yeah, John Hannah and Arnold Vosloo doing fucking Journey to the Moon.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a prequel, and John Hannah plays a young Michael Caine.
Oh, by the way, that worked, yeah.
Of course, The Rock came into G.I. Joe Retaliation, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. There's a talked about Big Trouble in Little China remake, and also he's been touted for the Suicide Squad 2.
I also really liked him in Be Cool.
Well, that's the thing, like, Be Cool is universally despised, and the only positive things that anyone ever says about it is The Rock is brilliant, and The Rock is brilliant in that. And I like the gag that runs through it where they keep saying, oh, but he can do the eyebrow thing in one of his gimmicks in the wrestling.
Listen, charismatic boy, isn't he?
Yeah, he started out, like we said, in the Mummy Returns, and he was cast originally as The Rock.
Because The Rock was his wrestling name.
Yeah, he was The Rock. He's been the Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and so now obviously he just goes under the name Dwayne Johnson. But you know, like we have all afternoon, people still only refer to him as The Rock.
I mean, it's a cool nickname, isn't it? I knew a boy back in the day called Spud.
Of course, I mean,
it's not a great nickname. I mean, my mate Spud. If like, oh, what shit name is that? If like, oh, my mate's coming to pub tonight, The Rock. You'd be like, who is that? That guy's got stories. Yeah.
So, like, I know you like a bit of science fiction. Do you have any kind of connection to Jules Verne?
No, I was one of those guys that as a wee guy, I was like, man, I really should read this stuff, and I just never got around to it.
Yeah, me too. The only Jules Verne I've ever read is in the 70s, Marvel released classic novels, but in the form of 52-page comic books.
All right, nice.
So that's how I've read things like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and The Mysterious Island.
Right.
But I only really know Jules Verne because of Around the World in 80 Days with Willy Fogg. I don't know if you remember that. The cartoon with the lion.
Oh, Willy Fogg is what I describe it as when I make bad... That's when my brain makes bad decisions when I'm horny, you know, and I'm like, I'm getting stuck down with a Willy Fogg. I couldn't see clearly. Oh, no. Oh, God. Now I have to pretend that I've moved to another country because I don't want this girl calling me. I mean, I remember liking the cartoon when I was a wee guy.
The theme tune is brilliant, and it's one of those things I remember seeing it like every day after school for months.
Yeah.
Weirdly, The Mysterious Island is actually a crossover sequel. The book itself is a crossover sequel. It crosses over to 2 other Jules Verne novels.
The Verniverse.
Yeah, and so there is scope to have a cinematic Jules Verne. Jules Verne cinematic universe.
Yeah, like about 2 seconds ago. You can just use it. It's all right, Alan. Don't try. It's fine. I want to listen to hear you try and one up me there. It's fine.
I was trying to say what you said to me back.
Try
to
be nice to you, Alan, and this is what happens. Are you cursed by the Willy Fogg at the moment?
I feel about you the way Luiz Guzman feels about The Rock.
It's the nicest thing anyone's done. I'm not going to lie, Alan. I might actually have a wee cry at the moment because I needed that. I needed that, mate.
I'm glad.
Would you have wanted to see a third one of these?
No. I'm surprised they got to a second one. I think if they'd started with the second one first, there might be a third one. I think if The Rock had kicked this thing off, we might have a third one now. For you, 2 of these Journey films are too many.
Yeah, I hate both those films. Don't watch them unless you've got kids or are a kid. If you are a kid, why are you listening to this? We've talked about stuff you shouldn't be listening to. Please tell your parents to get you put up for adoption to a family that can raise you properly. Thanks. It's a good choice, Al. Well well done.
Thank you.
I hope your next shite is a hedgehog. Fuck you.
Hey, so I've got this antiquated book that leads the way out of this basement here, Chris.
Let's have a look at it. Wait, hold on. It's called The Story of O. Hey, wait a minute. What is it you wanting me to do? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Listen, I think Jules Verne was fucking great in those Austin Powers films. So that's great. Loved that wee guy. Rest in peace. Right. So sorry, where was I? Oh yeah.